You've likely heard the phrase that AI is taking our jobs about 100 times now, but what if we make their jobs a little more difficult? Shazam is an app that uses AI to listen to any song that you play and tell you the name of it without having to look from one end of the internet to the other. In this video, I'm going to show you that it's not invincible by recreating popular songs on FL Studio and tricking Shazam into guessing the actual song. But I did set up some rules to make this more fun. So the first one is no sampling the original song because that would be considered playing the song. And the second one would be no importing external presets, so I need to come up with all of the sounds myself. Without further ado, let's recreate the first song. Alright, so let's start with our first song, Poster Boy by 2 Hollis. So, to save some time, I've added all of the samples which you could use on the left. It's about 6 to 7 samples, mainly composed of kicks and snares, so let's see what we could use. It's a little too muted. That's not bad, but I think it just has a bit of tone to it. It needs to be a little lower. Lower in EQ, that is. That's not bad. This isn't too bad either. I think this is the best one though. Yeah, that's a pretty solid sample. We're gonna use that. It's a really good sample. So this is our kick loop. Now let's add the snare. This is a little too loud. That's even louder, so let's go with the other one. Pretty solid. Now let's start with the lead. So I'm going to use Serum because it's a lot easier to modulate. Let's go with basic shapes because this one, I usually use this one when I'm making new sounds. Doesn't sound too good. Nope. This one, since it's like this, I think it's going to be a little quiet. Let's go with the next one though. This is the best one by far. Then there's a little stutter effect on the second loop, so let's do that. Nice. Now let's loop that. And it goes a little lower to my memory. So now instead of F sharp it goes to E and then to D and goes even lower. Pretty good. Now let's add a little sub layer because it's never that simple. There's always more. So let's lower it because there's no way it's going to be higher than that because then it'll sound a little too high pitched. And since it's more of a pluck sound, I'm gonna decrease the sustain and decrease the decay a little bit and add some noise because 2 Hollis also loves to add some grain to his melodies just to make it a little more unique. So let's hear how it sounds. I think making it on no octave difference is a little better. Let's add it in, I forgot to do that. Sounds good. But let's increase the whole thing up an octave. I think that'll make it a little more accurate. Oh, that's way better. Wait, so if that's the case, then should this be 1 octave lower? Let's see. Yeah, that's pretty good. Now let's go with the bass, arguably one of the most important parts of the song, just because it adds a lot more character and more filling elements to the song. So let's make a new pattern and see what we can do. It sounds pretty accurate, but I think we need to add some more noises. It's a lot better. But we need to also add a bit of a sub layer. That's very good. Now to make this a little more rhythmic, we should add some sidechaining. So usually some people also do sidechaining with gross beat and even kickstart, but I love to use automation clips because it gives me more control over the beat. So let's start sidechaining. Let's put some compression on the bass as well. I think that's pretty good. I think that sounds very accurate to Poster Boy. Let's see what Shazam thinks. Alright, so that was my remake of Poster Boy by 2 Hollis. Let's see if Shazam can guess the right song. So I have Shazam on my phone here. And there we go, we got Poster Boy by 2 Hollis. So that worked out pretty well. Let's move on to the rest of the songs in this video. Alright, so for the second song of this video, we have Levels by Avicii. So to save some time, I've loaded 4 drum samples, a kick, a closed hat, an open hat, and a clap, and a percussion. So that gives us a drum to percussion ratio of 4:1. So without further ado, let's make our drum pattern. Alright, it sounds pretty good. Now let's move on to the instruments. Alright, so the first thing that we're going to make is the ARP. So for this I'm going to use Serum because it's a really good building block for making new sounds, and I think that the initial preset is a really good starting block, but we're going to decrease the sustain because it's an ARP, so it needs to be a bit of a pluckier sound. And without further ado, let's make the melody. Alright, that sounds pretty good. Now let's move on to the next instrument. But before I do that, I am going to refine the sound a little bit just to make it a bit more realistic to the original sound. Nice, now the next thing that we're going to make is the lead. Alright, so for the lead, I'm gonna open another instance of Serum just because I love using Serum. It's just really easy to modulate, but you can use any program that you want. And I'm gonna go to basic shapes because I feel like we're gonna use more complex sounds. So let's see what we can use. That's way too mellow. That's also a little too mellow. This is just like the one that we used before. Maybe if we up the noises on this one, it might sound a little better. Let's see. Yeah, that's pretty accurate. Now we're gonna focus on the other more important stuff later, but for now let's make the melody. Alright, it sounds pretty good. Now let's just refine the noise a little bit. So instead of a low pass filter, I'm going to add a high pass filter, just so we can pronounce the higher frequencies a little more. Alright, sounds pretty good. Now let's move to the chords and the pianos. So for the piano, I'm going to step out of my comfort zone a little bit and use a different plugin called Flex. I know, thankfully, it's not CRM anymore. And I'm going to use one of their piano options because they have really accurate pianos, but I'm not going to use FL keys just because this one's a little more modulatable. Like, you can change the EQs a little easier, so I'm going to use that. And what we're going to do is take the exact same pattern from the lead and just copy and paste it into the piano. So now it sounds like this. That's odd. What happened? For some reason it's in a completely different key. You know, it's one key lower. Is the other one that way? Let's see. Oh, that one's fine. Must be something with the piano then. Let's see. You give me a second to fix this. Well, that's odd. Well, let's just make some improvisations and increase it one semitone up. There's no other option. So now let's hear what it sounds like. So that sounds pretty good, but I'm going to lower the high end just because it's already filled out with the lead, and higher up the mid end just so it's a little more full. Sounds pretty good. Now let's move on to the chords. Alright guys, I may have found the issue on why the piano is acting up. If you see the top left part of the screen, there's something called master pitch at -100 cents that changes the entire tone of the track. So I may have misclicked somewhere and that's what caused it. So pro tip, always check this because you're bound to make a mistake somewhere along the line. This happened to me several times before, so let's lower it down and see if it sounds good. Good as new. And if you could tell, in the previous patterns there was some issues with the synths. It sounded a little off key, so now this should also hopefully fix that as well. Now let's move on to the rest of the song. So for the sirens, I'm gonna load up another instance of Serum, and we're gonna go to basic shapes because with this one we can modulate a lot more sounds. So let's see which sound fits the siren sound the most. That's a little too muted. We're getting there, but I think it's not quite there yet. As we said in the poster boy one, this one would make it a little more muted, so let's go to the next one. This is good, but I think it needs a little more unison. Sounds pretty good, but I think there's a bit more to it. I think there's another sound that is with the square wave. Sounds good. So to make the sliding effect, we need to up the mono and turn on always and make the port time about 500 milliseconds, around there. Let's see what we can do with this. Sounds good. Now let's move on to the bass. So for the bass, we're going to use Serum again. And this one's pretty simple. It's nothing too difficult, but let's see what we can do. Sounds pretty good. Now let's arrange all of the tracks together. And before we do anything, we need to sidechain everything, just so everything sounds a lot more coherent. So after a lot of mastering, here's what the end product sounds like. Now let's see if Shazam can recognize the song. Alright, so now it's the second day of recording, and as you can tell, it's nighttime, which means that the camera quality isn't going to be the best, but that's okay because we're here to see if Shazam can get levels by Avicii. So without further ado, let's see. And there we go, levels by Avicii. Alright guys, so we just went 2 for 2 against Shazam. So to answer the question, is AI cooked? Yes, and we just proved it. This is my first time making these types of videos, so let me know if you like it. And be sure to leave a comment on what you think I should improve. And I hope you guys liked the video. Be sure to leave a like, subscribe with post notifications. And be sure to stay positive, have a good day, and live life to the fullest. See you.